a few questions about what you were speaking about earlier, the blue men.
Yes.
Um, I was kind of on a technical level, you referred to them taking people away from Earth
Sometimes, not always.
who had experienced war so that they could experience peace.
On another planet, yes.
Right. And I wasn't clear when you said that whether you meant that was like a permanent removal or whether they.
For most, it is a permanent removal.
I guess I'm curious whether it's certain energies that came to Earth and were so negatively affected by war that they had to be removed, or is it Earth energies that have been here for so long mired in that energy that they need to be, like, why would they be permanently removed as opposed to returned, or like what?
Because it's their choice.
Yes, I'm curious if there's a certain kind of experience that inspires that choice within war, not just war, because not everybody goes, right?
No, it depends upon the chosen destiny of each individual as to whether or not they should leave the planet permanently. And simply the blue men have the ability to tell the difference.
And we on Earth would just think of them as missing in action forever.
You might think of them as missing. You might also think of them as dead, because many of them actually are dead before they're taken and resuscitated. So in other words, their life is over on Earth.
Right.
But they don't necessarily just go into spirit. They have chosen another path where they can actually be resuscitated and live out a physical life on another planet. It's one of the pathways that actually does exist, even though most of you don't understand that.
Yeah. I mean, I love that you say that to me, because something I've been teaching recently that manifested very quickly is I've been teaching Dreamscapes workshops.
Yes.
Because there's so much richness in those realms that
Yes.
teach us.
Yes.
And so we're talking a lot in these workshops about the landscapes of dreams. And so when you were describing this world, I was thinking it's somewhere maybe that I have been.
You might be visiting different places like this.
Yes. Like this, like healing planets or
Yes.
so.
You are all aware of these things when you are dreaming. You don't
Yeah.
always remember when you wake up.
Yeah. Another dreaming question, because I talked to you about cityscapes and you told me I spent a lot of time in those, and I've
Yes.
experienced since the last time we talked and sort of becoming more coherent in those spaces.
Yes.
And I recently had this dream, two dream questions about two different dreamscapes. The first one is more of a puzzle. I was in like a portal or a multi-dimensional Victorian house.
Yes.
And all the rooms were chapters of my life that I could, and maybe not even just mine, but like my energy.
Right. Well, that's a very creative way to look at the idea of parallel probabilities.
Right. And there's a guide in this stream who's sitting at a round table on the first floor while I'm walking up and down the stairs, moving boxes, thinking I have to leave. And in the midst of me walking up the stairs, this guide, I have an understanding that this guide is watching over me because I have a power with language and words. We've talked about this.
Yes, yes.
But the power has as it was described to me, a dangerousness. And
Well, only if you use it in a negative way. In other words, you have to be responsible for how you use the vibrations, how you communicate.
Yes, interesting. Okay, and then so that's clear. And then the second dream question about that compact mirror butterfly energy that spun in 360 degrees.
Yes, what about it?
And I said, is that butterfly energy? And you said, no, not quite.
Yes.
And then I said, what? And you said, we'll talk about it now.
And
I was wondering if we could talk more about it now, and you could tell me what beyond butterfly energy that represents?
Well, I already told you how to connect to them more.
Yes, but I mean through that symbol. Because mirrors have come up and butterflies have come up. And if there's a combination of that in my dreaming, that's something a little bit further than both, I'd love to know.
It has to do with migration. It has to do with flying farther. It has to do with spreading seeds, spreading information to farther and farther distances. It has to do with carrying information aloft and taking it to places more exotic than where you've been.
Great. So that's why I asked about that dream image, because I didn't make that connection. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bashar, I love you.
Our unconditional love to you as well. Good day.
Hello again, Bashar. My name is Ian, and I am currently coming to you from my hometown of Port Macquarie, New South Wales, Australia. And my question is, how can people get better at remembering in the present the actions of their future selves, so as to avoid any potentially regrettable futures for their present selves? I hope that makes sense. Thank you very much. That is all. Good day.
Well, first and foremost, you're defining the idea that if you're actually in the vibration of your true present self, that could somehow contain the idea you call a regrettable future. You have to separate those things and not combine them together, because the definition of being in your true self and in your passion cannot possibly vibrationally contain the idea of a regrettable future. All you're simply saying is you're holding on to belief systems that you would probably prefer to let go of, that say that somehow by acting on your passion and moving forward in the way that you prefer to, that something would somehow go wrong. That's not a definition of a vibration of your true self. That's a different definitional vibration. So you have to decide whether or not you want to keep connecting that other definition to your passion, or whether you want to realize that it has nothing to do with the vibration of what you can experience in the reality of your passion.
Shivai Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I have a number of questions to ask you. And we'll start out with the number one about preferences. You speak about preferences a fair amount.
Yes.
And I'm curious about what determines preferences, like interest in arts or science or type of music, the work we choose. Are they the soul's themes we're exploring in life? Are they influenced?
Preferences are what aligns with your passion. It aligns with who you really are, what represents your path, your particular search, your particular investigation as this particular individual in this lifetime.
I see. And are they influenced by our DNA or physiology or life's experiences?
They can be, but they're more influenced by what you believe to be true.
Oh, okay. Fascinating. In terms of themes that we're exploring in life, as you were saying,
yes,
the themes that we're exploring, are they related, or are there general themes that the Oversoul is exploring with us, or how does the connection?
Yes, it's more about the idea in general of transformation from one thing to another. The specifics are usually revealed in whatever the challenges are that come up in your life. That's usually a revelation of the specifics of the theme. Transform this, now transform that.
Gotcha. Thank you. I'm curious about the hybrid children. You've talked about this planet being toxic with the air, food, water, and EMFs. How will the hybrid children deal with the environmental pollutants and pathogens? How do they do that?
Well, the idea is that they do have ways of dealing with that to some degree, but by the time they actually come in full force, those things will have been somewhat diminished.
Okay. Great. Question I've been wanting to ask you for 13 years now. Yeah. Sexuality is such a powerful driving force on this planet. What is it about that, and why do sexual boundary crossings and violations have such a profound impact on the human psyche?
Well, again, it's about anything being done either for positive reasons in alignment with your true self, or negative reasons that are out of alignment. The sexuality itself is one way to allow yourself to align with energies that are physical in nature. and allow you to ground yourself in the earth vibration as an expression of nature. And when utilized in very positive ways of integrity and equality, then the ideas can profoundly accelerate and increase the vibration of your resonance. Of course, you know that, again, anything can be used positively or negatively. So when used negatively in terms of controlling issues or self-depreciation issues or one of the various fear-based belief systems that exist on your planet that you connect to sexuality, then of course your vibration will in some sense lower.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Speaking of the ET neighborhood, several decades ago, a channel brought to me one of the most refined spirits I have ever experienced. And beyond, the purity was beyond anything I thought was possible.
All right.
The name of this being was Esarera. And it struck me how similar that name is to Esasani. Is there any relationship there? Who was this being?
There is. It's a hybrid being that you are connected with that might be representative of a counterpart. You understand that term?
Yes.
All right. So you may be dealing with a counterpart version from the same oversoul that you are an extension of, to give you a reflection for guidance synchronistically that is also connected to my reality.
Whoa. Profoundly struck by that.
All right.
Oof. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Wow. That was really helpful.
All right.
I live in the San Francisco Bay Area where the lightning storms have started many of the fires here.
How exciting.
It was actually at some level. And I had a felt sense that the lightning was conscious and then the lightning strikes were somehow intentional. That's not the right word. Is there anything to...
I understand exactly what you mean. The idea, again, is to understand that weather is a reflection of the collective emotional body of your entire world. And therefore, there may be archetypal representations that, of course, if you're sensitive enough, you will sense the consciousness in, because it is an expression of the collective consciousness of your planet on an emotional basis.
Ooh, wow. Thank you. That's very enlightening, as it were.
Oh, thank you for the pun.
Infants. I'm curious about infants. You've invited us to ask the question of ourselves, what would I have to believe to be true to have this feeling I'm having?
Yes.
How does that work in infants? Do they actually have thoughts like that? Or
they're not formed that way yet. They haven't all crystallized yet into the belief system structure of the collective. So they kind of come and go and still rely on their connection to their spirit.
Oh, okay.
But they may be absorbing some of those belief systems as they grow.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And given all that, what is the wisdom of all the changes that are happening now with the fires, the storms, the flooding, COVID, the political, social unrest?
Certainly you are being given a reflection of the consequences of the choices that many of you have made, and whether or not you are now willing to take responsibility, meaning the ability to respond, to make changes that are more in the direction that you really prefer. Remember, physical reality is just a mirror.
Right.
So if you don't necessarily prefer what you're seeing in the reflection, it's a good opportunity to get in touch by contrast between what you don't prefer and what you really do, and then to act accordingly. But this is the convergence time. In other words, all the different cycles of what you have created are now converging. That's what this time is all about. So that there is absolutely no mistaking the consequences of the choices that have been being made.
It seems like to decide. Yes, it seems like the delay between our decisions and when the consequence happens seems to be, we can't seem to put those two together.
Well, you live in a reality of space-time construction, and therefore there can be what you call a delay. But it's bringing to your attention that the idea of a choice and the consequence are actually getting closer and closer, and not as much are they delayed.
Nice. Okay. I'm curious about how the Earth was populated with animals and the aquatic species and the plants. Was it DMA fragments? Was it delivered to us by other ET species?
Well, both. There is the idea of panspermia. You understand that?
Yes.
of genetic material being delivered by asteroids and comets. There is also the idea of certain deliveries by extraterrestrial races of certain genetic material as well. It's one of the ways that nature has of expanding itself and creating evolution, is that some races develop to the point where they simply become mechanisms, not to devalue them, for the idea of the expansion and continuation of evolution of other races and other planets.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Last question. I feel like I have some connection with this third star in Orion's belt. Is there a planet? Do I have some kind of connection with?
Yes, as we have discussed sometimes, the ancient Orion systems form a very strong energetic connection for many people on Earth at this time, because it was an experience in some of the ancient Orion systems millions of years ago of experiencing very, very strong, very deep oppression, repression, some of the things you are beginning to experience more of on your planet. And therefore, this is an opportunity to connect to those ancient Orion energies of negativity and darkness and transform them into light, so that you don't necessarily have to experience the Orion path as you experienced before a long time ago on Earth again. The idea of the Earth at this time is that it is kind of a melting pot of different kinds of pathways that different souls have taken, all coming together to now live out certain experiences and attempt to transform them into more positive ones. Earth is a transformer planet.
Oh, beautiful. What an exciting time to be here.
It is.
And is the number 11 associated with that star system?
Not directly, no. More, again, the number of 13.
13. Okay, great.
Both the positive and the negative aspects of it that have come into your folklore.
Beautiful. Thank you, Bashar. I am deeply grateful to have this contact with you.
As we also deeply appreciate the co-creation of such, our unconditional love and support to you.